Hi everyone, welcome back to Paper Therapy with Amy. This is the third video in my beautiful gallery series, and you can see that I've got my photos laid out here. This is a fortress that we hiked to in Würzburg, Germany, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. This is a really go-to scrapbook layout style for me, to cluster everything in the center and make it kind of diamond shaped. I think it's really pleasing and it really guides your eye across the page, and it fits a lot of pictures often. Although I had hundreds of pictures of this and I whittled them way down because I will link after this video, the video that I made of us on the bridge. There's a bridge in the background. I think my head's over top of it. But there's a bridge that we had wine on. It's not this one here, it's a different one. And I did a whole layout of drinking wine on the bridge in Würzburg. So I had some pictures from being up at this spot looking down, like more pictures like this. And so I didn't feel, because that's going to be on the next layout, because that's what we did after this. So I didn't feel the need to include all of those pictures of scenery from the top. I more wanted to include the actual building that we visited. So one thing I did on this layout is, you know that I have this love-hate relationship with my husband's red clothing, red and orange clothing. And he's been wearing like an orangish hoodie in the last two layouts that I've done with this paper pack. And I've been bringing in the paper that has the orangey tinge to it. There's just a couple of damask patterns with some orange or peachy tinges in the pattern. So this time I didn't want to use those. I wanted to go a different direction, and I'm just going to be with greens and teals in this layout. So what I did is I toned back my husband's shirt here in Canva. So I selected the picture and chose edit, and then I chose brush, and I tried to make the tool as small as possible, zoom in, and just select with the brush my husband's shirt. So it's tricky. It takes a little bit of retrying and being careful. And I just, I went as close as I could, trying not to go on his skin. And you just select, you just press the mouse, and you can do it on your phone too, but it's pretty difficult. And you just go really slow and really carefully. And you can just cancel it and retry if you go wrong. So once I got that all highlighted in purple the way I wanted, then I played with the color correction and the vignette, the contrast, the saturation to tone down the shirt. Now I wasn't able to completely change the color, and that wasn't really my goal. I was just trying to tone it back, make it a little more shadowy so it wasn't bright red. So you can see here, I'm just adjusting little things on the side there. You can kind of see what I'm adjusting. I don't even remember. I just kept trying things till I saw what looked good. Every time I try to adjust a little lever there, it's showing me again what is highlighted, what I'm actually adjusting, and I'm only adjusting the purple highlighted area. Now remember, when I was highlighting this area, I was very zoomed in. So if you are not perfect and you go on the skin a little bit, it'll be okay, because you're going to print it as a 4x6. It's not going to be this closely zoomed in, and nobody's going to be staring at that neckline. If you're just trying to change the tone of someone's clothing a little tiny bit, then it's not necessary to select everything like this. The problem with red is if I only selected the foreground, then it would change the color of our skin as well, because there's red in our skin. Once I zoomed back out, then I made sure I liked the whole photo and was happy with how the whole photo looks. And once I was happy with how the whole photo looked, I saved it to my desktop, and I airdropped it to my phone, and from my phone I printed it on my Canon Selfie. And so I was looking at all the papers, and when I put these two I just thought they looked really good. And originally I had white in the background, but I really like this is Pebble in the background here. It's close to my heart. It's Pebble that it's like long gone, but I bought a ton of it because it was $7 for a 24 pack or something like that. And I really like it for in the background because it's not quite white. If you were looking to do this with a Stampin' Up! Color, I would say the back side of any of the light grays or of Cloud Cover would work. It would look similar. This is kind of a greeny gray, like I'm pretty sure the back side of Cloud Cover would be almost this color. I'm going to draw my inspiration for colors from this scene picture that I'm going to use on either side so it looks like it continues, and then I'll have this other paper going in behind the other way. And my title in this area over here, I think, with some embellishments. So I may bring in another wood grain or something across the top to keep that line continuous. I also want to matte my photos. Now, this is Lost Lagoon, but the other two colors are from my stash and they're close to my heart colors. So, but if I was doing this with Stampin' Up! Colors, I would use Lost Lagoon, and then I would use Misty Moonlight. And then I would use, for this last color here, Secret Sea. This is Harbor, but it's very similar to Secret Sea. You could also use Cloud Cover too, I think, instead of Misty Moonlight. Maybe use the back side of Cloud Cover in the background and the front side on some of the mats. So I wanted to kind of overlap this picture over top of my husband's shirt there, just to cover it up a little bit more yet, but doesn't it look so much better toned back? I've also distressed the pictures on the left-hand side with my little distressing tool that I made, and I'll show you that in just a minute how I do that. So I glue this onto an old pad. I just used the Barely Art glue and then I put a weight on it, like so. I cut a circle out of sandpaper. I add glue to the sponge. I put the sandpaper on there with the sandpaper facing out. I put it under a heavy weight and let it, like, you know, something heavier than this, but let it dry. And then I have a little sanding disc pad, and I'll make a few at once when I make them. So this is how I want to distress instead of with ink. I'm going to use this. And the reason for that is there's a lot of, there's no white on this page, and I just thought this might make it pop a little bit more than inking it darker. I probably will ink the edges of my patterned papers with gray ink. So that is how I do that. Okay, so I have these loose in case I want to move them around, and I was able to cut this much from in behind here and this little strip, and it was actually 3/4 of an inch, so I made it into like I cut it in half-ish so that I could put it here and here, and kind of make it look like this is continuing on. And then I thought, do I want it to actually go right here? Because I have this little piece left, and I don't think that you would see it was to get like patched right there, especially since I would ink the edge, the bottom edge, so then you wouldn't really see that. So I think I will do that. And this is 3 inches here, so I'm just going to cut this. Pardon me. Need the cutter. I'm just going to cut this directly in half. So let's go 3. Yeah, that should be good. Okay, I was looking at this paper and I love it, except for these peach strips. They actually go with the pictures, but I don't really want to introduce the peach into the page. I could, but I just think I'm going to try something that you might think is kind of neat, and it'll be a little tutorial too. So I'm going to go, let's try 3/4 of an inch. And I'm going to make a few of those, at least 2. We'll start with 2. Okay, and then the beauty of this paper is that you can see the edge of each board. So if you cut them off like this, and now don't cut on this other side, what you want to do, hopefully this is in frame, you can do it with glue as well, is you want to patch it together like this, and you'll never know that there was peach in there because you just line up the dark bit here so you cannot see it. So that's what I'm gonna do. And then I'm thinking this is gonna go under here. Let's lift this just a little. So I would want to bring this up. I kind of like even lines, so I would want to bring this up so that it was even. And then that means this would need to come up. So it's even. So I kind of like the tree framing things in there. So let's cut about 1, 2, 3, 4.5. Let's cut this one down to 5. So this is a 6-inch piece of paper. If I take 1 inch off, I've cut it to 5. So let's put this in here, and then I'm still going to be able to tuck under here a little bit, which is what I wanted. Right, and then you go right up there, and then you kind of have the tree framing. Okay, now I have this embossing folder, and I noticed that in Chelsea's last video, she did some embossing on white paper, and I thought adding a little white into this might be nice because it is all kind of all the same tone, and there is white here, and then of course the white core of the paper is showing. So I did emboss some on white, and I do want to ink that for sure. Let's go like this. And then it might be nice to use a blending brush to kind of ink these a little bit as well. So I'll get one. And then you do want to, I can come do that up here so you can see it better. I don't want to do it too much because I like the subtleness of it, but I do like a little. There we go. That looks pretty good. And then I was thinking to put these in like here. That one's a little big for there. Oh, I could probably do both. Okay, so let's go like this. And then this would come under here a little bit as well. If I can get it to do that. I glued that down pretty good. There we go. There we go. Okay, that might be almost an inch, but that's okay. Okay, we want it to be the same, so I'm looking to be just shy of an inch in and up. So what do we think of that? Let's try it on the other side as well. I was able to do this one. I put it in here and just did the full amount I could get. One thing you could do if you wanted a strip, you could do a strip coming down because of the way these are orientated, but I don't feel they should be this way. I think this is the way they go. So one thing you could do if you wanted to keep going across the page is you could just cut a slit in your embossing folder here so that the paper could slide through here, and then you could line it up, because then the paper would slide right through here and you could line it up and keep going. But I think, yeah, that's big enough, so I don't need to worry about that. I'm going to be creating my own embellishments for this layout, and I'm using the Gallery Blooms stamp set and the standalone dies that come with. And these are peacock and olive ink from Close to My Heart, and I'm loading up this stamp so that the blooms are the peacock color, and then I'm just trying to be careful and only get the leaves in the olive ink. And I'm going to stamp 4 of these and then cut them out with the matching die, and then I'm going to cut 2 different kinds of leaves from the standalone dies that come with this stamp set, and one more flower that's similar to this one, but it's more of a silhouette. All right, I'm ready for embellishing. You can see that I did white embossing here and here, so I'm really happy with that. I'm glad I did that. And I have, I used this stamp set in case it's in your stash. You could just cut this out of white letters, like a white paper, and put them on top as well. But I just had it and I wanted to use it. I just like getting use out of my stamp set so much. I've pre-cut everything that I'm going to use to embellish. This little pocket watch came from my stash and I thought it was really fitting for this layout. So I'm going to be using that. And then I'm going to be using some flowers in the colors that I have on this layout. The pocket watch is dark gray, and I also cut out a few of the tags to go dies, specifically the lock and a couple of keys, and I think a few little keychains in dark gray as well. And I kind of want them nestled among the flowers that I'm arranging. When I cut the leaves, I make sure to alternate the side of the paper that I'm using when I go to cut them out so that I have different shades in the leaves, and I really like that. So while you watch me add my embellishments, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Marienburg Fortress, which is this place. I actually don't know that much about it because it was just closing when we got there, so we did not go inside. We walked on the grounds, which was awesome. It was a good walk uphill, like definitely had to take a few rests and climb a great big hill, but it kind of sits above the city of Würzburg. But it was totally worth it. It was really beautiful views from the top, and the building itself was really cool. It's kind of a castle. And so my husband and I just strolled around there and took some pictures. There's all like grapes. So there's vineyards there. So there's all grapes down the hillsides. I'm like, I don't know how they tend to these grapes because it's such a steep hillside, but I did notice, we noticed these rings in the ground, and I said to my husband, what are those for? And he said, I bet you they lock into those rings when they're working in these fields because then they won't fall down the hill because it's so steep. So it was just really cool to see all the carvings, and I loved that little round kind of grate there. It is a really neat place. And then after this, we went down and met everybody at the bridge in Würzburg, where every night people drink wine on the bridge. And I tell you that story in the other video that I made about this day, or layout that I made about this day. And I will link that one after this one, so you can watch that one next if you want to. I think the dark gray keys and clock are just perfect for this layout. They just kind of are what it needs. And the only real journaling I have on this layout is on the right-hand side there. Some views are worth every step. And I will add the word Marienburg Fortress, but that's really all I need. If I wanted to know more about it, I would just Google it because honestly, I think we Googled it at the time and read about it, but we didn't go inside, so we didn't learn too much about why the place was there. We just enjoyed the architecture and the walk. So I felt like these little embellishment clusters needed a little bit of something, and I thought this Elements of Text stamp set might work. I'm going to use a little rectangle verse here, and it actually says something about spring, which is perfect because this was in spring. And underneath each little embellishment cluster, I'm going to kind of have this little stamp kind of peeking out from underneath. And I think you're really going to like how that turns out. I just want to say to all of you who tune in every week, this week I missed Tuesday, so it's just Friday this week. But every week you guys tune in and send me all the love in the comments, and I really appreciate it. And if you don't mind, I'd love it if once again you hit that thumbs up button for me. It really helps me out on YouTube. Here we have the finished layout. I'll give you a bit of a close-up, and I just wanted to let you know the photo sizes were 4x4. That tiny one there is 2x2. There's 3x3s, and there's 3x4s. So those are that size plus a mat around the outside. So I added a few of those little pressed flower motifs, and that is the layout this time. I hope you enjoyed watching it come together, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching. Bye.